Welcome to the Boone Podcast. I'm Bret Boone, and today on the program, I'm joined by a Hall of Famer, two-time Super Bowl champ, current head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. We were teammates back in the day. I'm really looking forward to catching up uh, with this next guest, one of the greatest athletes of all time, ladies and gentlemen, Deion Sanders, Prime. Thanks for coming on the Boom
Hey
Podcast.
man, thank you for having me. I miss you. You look good. You're still looking the same. I haven't seen you in quite some time, but you've always been not only a good dude, man, a great teammate and a good person, man. So I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that. A lot of fun. We got a lot to get to, but a lot of fun watching this year and all the excitement you brought to Boulder. When you close your eyes now, you're
Hmm.
an NFL Hall of Famer. You played 9 years in the big leagues. You're TV host, you're analyst. Now you're a head football coach. When Dion closes his eyes, what do you picture yourself as?
One of the greatest fathers to have ever lived. I pride myself on fatherhood. I pride myself on having relationships, true relationships with my kids, and I'm living the dream, man. I've coached my kids their whole entire life. Shiloh, the safety here, I've coached him all but 2 years when he went to South Carolina. Shador, I've been his coach every day he's ever taken a snap. My daughter here is playing basketball now for the school. My son is doing the videography here. My other daughter lives in Atlanta, but she's at every game. So it's truly a family affair. My sister is my secretary, and my mother. Oftentimes, she's in my office watching the soap operas. So I love it, man. I enjoy life tremendously.
And I don't know if you're like me, but when we're playing, when we're in our when our not to use the term, but when we're in our prime, we got a lot of things to worry about. We got to worry about game day, and we got to worry about winning games.
Right.
The family's there, but I found after I retired, and actually a little bit of time of growing up once I retired, I'm with you on the family thing and how important it is to be a dad first. Everything else is great. Yeah, we push him to the brink, and I got a son in the minor leagues right now,
Wow.
and I'm watching that. Man, it's tough, Dion. I could imagine. I want to get into it with you. You're coaching your kids. I was coached by my dad. You played for my dad for a minute.
Yeah.
Played with my brother Aaron. I
Yeah.
watch him. But man, when I watch my son, it's like I want to come out of the stands, but this 54-year-old body just can't create that bat speed anymore for him. But I just want to say, son, you got to do it. But then I take a step back and go, he's not me. He's not
That's
me. He's
right.
got to learn his own
Right.
way. Uh, you're doing it now at a big time level. You're at Division One. You're coaching two kids. You're one of your sons is Shador, the quarterback, and Shiloh is on the team as well. You talked about your son Deion Jr. doing all the PR work and following you around doing the social media. That's got to be cool. But it's good to hear you talk about that. And I've had other college coaches on, and they talk about it's important to win. It's important to kick butt every week. We're not here to lose,
That's right.
but at the same time, you're developing young men to prepare them for real life coming up.
Every day. Every day. I mean, it's not. This isn't work. It hadn't been one instance where I've been upset with coming in or I dreaded the journey to drive in. It's not work. It's like I'm driving to my calling, my purpose. And I love this young man. And yesterday, no, a couple of days ago was our first team meeting, and just seeing the new faces, the body types, the structure, the hunger and the thirst for some of the new young men is unbelievable. Because you go, like a big league team, you add this and you subtract this and you add this, and we've added so many things that we truly needed. And I can't wait to see it play out, to see the off-season strength and conditioning, get to know the kids. And one thing that I'm emphasizing with my coaching staff is we get more relational, more intentional about developing relationships with these young men, so we truly know them, know their needs, desires, and what buttons to push, and how they function, how they understand life, and who they truly are with the helmet off.
When did you know that the next chapter in your life was going to be coaching? I know you've coached your kids for a long time now, and it's been a journey to
It,
get to
it's
Colorado.
funny that you just say I'm coaching my kids and let go walk in my office. Been down, man. This is my daughter.
Hi.
How you doing?
Where you
Yeah,
guys
hi.
ranked now?
Number 3.
They're ranked number 3 in the country, Colorado basketball. So yeah. So I'm loving it. We was just talking about me fathering and all that. And I just want to choke her right now, but I'm not going to do that on air. We'll do it later.
It
Okay.
is.
You got a question? Any questions for her, Brett?
What's it like? What's it like having Pops prime time? I played with him. Now this is long before you were around. But what's it like having Pops prime time? Is he easy? Is he hard on you?
Both.
Does he give you good advice? I know he gives you good advice, but I got
Yes,
to
for
ask
sure.
you that.
Yeah, she don't listen all the time, but I give her advice.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you later.
I ask my kids that. They're like, "Oh, Dad's a clown."
Yeah.
Prime, and they tell my kids think, I don't know. I try to keep up with the kids today. I got a bunch of them in college, and some are out of the house. They're just married off my daughter, but they just think, it's as cool as I think I am. I get humbled pretty quick, but when the kids are
Yeah.
around, like he's just
Yeah.
dad, and he's kind of a dork.
Well, my other two sons, all three of them, matter of fact, they're in Paris. Is it Paris? They're in Paris right now, walking in the Louis Vuitton fashion show.
Really?
Pharrell, the designer and artist, asked them to be in that show. I said, guys, you can't miss like this is the Louis Vuitton fashion show. Like you got to go. So they're walking in that today, which is going to be a highlight. I'm sure that they don't understand the magnitude of how big that is to walk in a fashion show of that magnitude.
It's very cool. When did you decide that the next chapter? And like I said, you've been coaching your kids for a while now. At a young age, I
Mm-hmm.
coached my kids at a young age. We did that travel ball thing. It was
Oh yeah.
amazing. Me and Trevor Hoffman, right when we retired, we took our
Oh my
kids and
God.
we had
Awesome.
this we had this travel ball, and I coached third, he coached first, and we thought we were going to have a super team. And after a while, I remember Trevor come up to me, and go, Booney, are we doing something wrong? We lay out this plan for them. Everything's free, and you know how travel ball is today for these
Right.
kids. They're charging them
That's
an arm and a leg.
crazy.
We got
Yes.
everything free. We got Trevor. We got a Hall of Famer over in the first base coach. And some of the parents, if their kid wasn't
Right.
hitting third, fourth,
Right.
playing short,
Right.
and pitching at the same time, they'd go to another program. And we started to look at each other like, are we doing something wrong?
No, you're too honest. You're too genuine. So parenting is unbelievable. Now leading into college football because of the NILs and all of this. Parents are becoming the agents and they want to do the deals. And sometimes they're giving them right wisdom. And sometimes they're giving those young men the wrong wisdom on what to do with their lives. And what parents don't understand, if it don't work out, kids will look at you and blame you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's
And,
what they're
and
going to do.
especially at the younger ages, too. I'm kind of like, listen, this is supposed to be fun. Everybody's not going to be a big leaguer. Everybody ain't going to the NFL, but every kid can have a good childhood experience. And,
They don't
and
want
when
to hear
these
that.
And when these kids are 12 and 13, it's all about and I was a tough coach. I'm like, listen, we're not here to lose. We're here to kick the crap out of these people.
That's
But
right.
sometimes you learn lessons by losing as well. And let's go have a Slurpee and go chase girls like you're supposed to
Right.
do when you're a little kid. But
No,
they
these
put
kids
too
are playing
much
one
pressure.
sport. Man. They play one sport these days. They're not playing
Yeah.
multiple sports. They all the marbles are stuck into this one thing, and they live it, eat it, drink it all day, 24 hours a day, and they really don't have a life. And then when it don't work out, even at a young age, they start venturing into drugs and alcohol. They start doing
Yeah.
crazy things that is not indicative to who they are. But that's how they medicate the pain.
And I look at your situation. I mean, you and Bo, and we had Brian Jordan on the program.
Yeah.
Obviously, you did it to play a sport. We're watching Otani right now. I never thought I'd see that in the baseball side, but
Yeah.
we're seeing it. What you and Bo and Brian did, it's unheard of. I try to tell people, I said, do you realize how hard it is to play a sport at the highest level? And then be doing two is ridiculous. But I think at a young age, you're right. You touched on it. You said these kids are playing one sport. I think me, when I was a kid playing Pee Wee football, first of all, it
Yeah.
got me away, didn't burn me out on baseball, but it taught me lessons on the football field that I could bring to the baseball field and vice
That's
versa.
right.
And these kids aren't doing it today. You're right. They're trying to be specialists. And usually in the end, the parent, they look at the parents and kind of go, man, my childhood wasn't that fun because there was so much pressure and I was never good enough to begin with.
Right,
But
right,
you took my
right.
childhood away. I don't know. I had a whole separate show for that. But I want to talk about your kids at a Division I level because we're getting serious now when we get to the Power Five.
Yeah,
I played. My dad was a bench coach in 1994. We had a great relationship. Once we got to the ballpark, it was not father son, it was coach player. We had a
that's
great
right.
relationship. I was able to work with my dad throughout my career, and we didn't have that father son button heads. Now, Aaron, on the other hand, it was different. Aaron played under him as a manager, and they really couldn't get past that father son, and they butted heads quite a bit. At a high level, when you're coaching your kids, you're looking out for your kids with Shiloh and Shador on the field, have you found it to be easy? Are they different in different ways? Do you have to go at them a
Yeah, they're
different
totally
way to get
different.
the same result?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're totally different. Two totally different kids, and they have a little bit of me, a little bit of that, and one of them a little bit of this, and one of them. This is the story that was true. We was going into overtime last year. I forget the team, and you go for the coin toss, and Shador is one of the leaders. And Shiloh walked over to me. He said, "Are we going to get the ball first? You want us to get the ball first, or are you going to put us under the defense?" I said, "The defense have been playing like garbage all game long. Your brother's going to get the ball first. He's going to go down and score, and we're going to put extreme pressure on the opposing team, and we're going to win. That's how it's going to go down. But you guys have been horrible all game long, so stop it." And that was true. And that was
Yeah,
the first time we really use like your brother, usually because they know I'm coach, I'm not dad during the games.
right.
But that really happened. Shador went out there, drove us down, we scored, and we stopped the other team from scoring. I think it was Colorado State. Stopped the other team from scoring and ended up winning the game.
Yeah, when we were playing in baseball, and obviously you can relate to this, sometimes it's really important for that leadoff man to get on, steal second, move him
Yeah.
over, and
Oh
hit a
yeah.
sacrifice fly, and it's 1-0. And people
Yeah.
don't understand. Nowadays you're watching Major League Baseball. There's no bunting. There's not hitting the
Yeah.
ball the other way.
Everybody's
What
taking the
people don't
launch.
what people don't understand is the mental side of that. When you
Mhm.
do that consistently, your opponent goes, damn, it's 1-0 before the national anthem's over. And that's a
That's right.
psychological win.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my kids, we know how to cut it off because I've coached them their whole lives, but they know on the field I'm coach. I'm not dad. So don't come at me like. But I'm harder on them, as you know, than the rest of the team. Most definitely, I hold them accountable. Truly, no matter what the situation is, I get on them just as much as I get on the other kids, or even more, because I have a greater expectation because I know them.
Right. Um, Jackson State. Let's go back to there. You raised the profile
Right.
at Jackson State. But when you took the job in Colorado, it was kind of at another level. Rick George, the athletic director,
Yeah, love it.
what's that call like when he called you and you started discussing coming to Boulder?
Well, it was pretty much several calls, and you kind of don't want to deal with it because you're trying to win a championship there at Jackson at the conclusion of the season. But you got to deal with it in some sort. Thank God I got a great team that could compartmentalize things for me as well as I. But those calls start coming in, and then the interviews. They want to start making the interviews, and that's tough because you're doing the interviews for this, and then you're trying to put a staff together for that because this staff may not be prepared to be that staff, and it's a lot of going and coming and thinking and positioning. But it's time for you to depart. But where you depart, that's the next step. But out of all the ADs, persons that came at us, Rick George was 100. He was honest. Um, he laid out his plan, and he said, "You're the guy that fits where we want to go. Not this guy, not this guy. I talk to others, but you're the guy." And we prayed about it, thought about it. And one day I was eating lunch with one of my library coaches now that's been coaching with me for the last 20 years, youth football all the way up. I said, "I got it. We're coming. We're going to Colorado. God just said Colorado. Let's go." So I called Rick and said, "We coming." That's how the whole slogan started with "We coming." And he was excited. First of all, when he received the call, he thought I was calling to turn him down and say, "No, I'm not going." Being hospitable. But no, this was the place. I love it. I love the fan base. I love everything, the direction that we're headed. Jackson was a tremendous opportunity for me and as well as the staff, as well as the kids that we brought over to build something that we could possibly sustain. And that's what we're doing right now, man. We're consistently building up. We're not getting the time to say, oh, we're not going to win this year. We're not like that. We want to win right now. That's why we're in the portal. That's why the scouting department is at work right now, calling kids and trying to make it happen. That's why we're adamant about going to the next level immediately.
Did you know anything about Boulder before you went there? I know it's cold.
Not one bit. You know, I'm from the South, man. You know, I grew up in Florida, reside in Texas, so not whatsoever. Only thing I can remember about Colorado, honestly, is playing the Broncos and playing the Rockies. You know, that's it. I have no other references. I've never been other than that. In coaches, you don't get recruiting trips. You don't get to visit and check it out and see how much you like it. You don't get the parades and if they could woo you to come. You don't get none of that. So you're making a decision based on faith. Like, you got to believe this is the place because you don't get to see everything before you get here.
And what you guys did from a college football perspective was huge. I mean, they're coming off a 1-11. They probably, since Gary Barnett really hadn't had any success in Colorado, and all of a sudden, you know, you got Fox, you got College Game Day there. They're picking up your spring games. Colorado's been a team that in the Power 5, in the Pac-12, was that night game after dark. It was the last thing on the map. All of a sudden, now you guys are prime time.
That's right. And I love
rocks
it. I mean,
rocks on the sidelines.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, someone told me, hey man, your sideline is like the BET Awards and American Music Awards. I like it. I like that. I like that.
The thing about it is that's been your whole life. And you know what? This brings me back. When I think of Deion and our time that we played together in Cincinnati, I flash back and I have certain things that I remember. You know, Marge was running the show, and she would fly us. For those of you listening to the Boone podcast, when Deion and myself played for the Cincinnati Reds, Marge shot. She was a little frugal when it came to flying us. Right. So everybody, you know, all the big time sports, we charter everywhere we go. In Cincinnati, though, once a year, flying from Cincinnati to LA to play the Dodgers, she'd put us in coach, and we'd have to fly with everybody else. And I remember, and this is at your height. I mean, when it's, you know, Deion's flying, he's going from a football game to baseball, and we're sitting in the terminal, and we're looking at each other like, are we really flying commercial to play the Dodgers? And I thought, this isn't fair for the people on the plane with us. It wasn't fair for us, but it wasn't fair for the people on the plane with us. Because in baseball, we play every day. And these guys, you know, it's like that's a time that the players let their hair down, and to be flying with everybody else, it really wasn't fair for them. But at the same time, it wasn't fair for us either. But that's what I remember about our time is I remember we're sitting there, we're flying coach to LA.
I got a Marge shot story, which she was when everybody started trying to bring in racism, but I never saw that side of her, and she was number gracious. I remember we were spring training in Plant City, and remember they had the little lake in like the middle of the whole compound there. It was a little lake, you know, water is in it, and it was gator. You know, everywhere in Florida, it's a gator in a little lake. It's a gator there, and you know, Marge used to have the dog Shotzi, and I can remember the dog was sipping water, and Marge was sitting right by the lake watching the dog sip water. And I could see the head of this gator, and everybody could see the head of this gator. Just, you know, you could just kind of hear the jaws thing. And I'm looking around like, so y'all ain't gonna say nothing. Like, can y'all say something to Marge and this dog to get him away from the edge? This gator is easing in on her. And I remember start yelling and screaming. I was laughing and yelling and screaming because nobody was saying nothing. This gator was just closing in on her. But, you know, we got her out of there. We got the dog out of there because this gator was sitting right there ready to attack this dog in that little lake.
Yeah, I remember Shotzi putting putting a Shotzi hair in my back pocket. And I remember Larkin B. Booney. You better let her put that hair in your back pocket. You want that multi-year deal.
Yeah, that dog print was on all our checks too, by the way.
That's right. That's right. You talk about the sidelines and how they became kind of like American
Yeah.
Music Awards, whatever you want to do, the Oscars. You're used to that. Your life's
Mhm.
been pretty high profile. That's not a big deal for you. That's something new. How did the kids handle
Oh
that
my.
type of celebrity?
It was, when you're in the locker room and I'm getting ready to make my pregame speech or whatever, and they see the Rock walking through. I remember one of the kids came to grab me because I get dressed inside the equipment room, and they saw Anthony Anderson and Cedric the Entertainer. While I'm making my pregame speech, you got Master P standing right there, Dr. J. Julius Irvin right there. You have Lil Wayne right here. I mean, it was like, these kids like, oh my God, this is real. I've only seen him on TV, but you got to understand, most of these collegiate kids, they see success on social media, but they've never seen it personally. A person that's successful, that's doing it, that's making it, and getting the opportunity to talk to. So when T.O. drops by practice, or any of these guys that I played with in the past come by practice and just want to sit in on practice and watch, or some of these celebs, it's a blessing to them because they're like, man, this guy is successful in his own area of expertise. Let me ask him questions. And these guys that come in, they allow them to just talk to them about life. And it helps those young men make it to the next level. Because we've had some of everybody and their mother. I mean, country music singers, everybody have come through. And that's awesome.
Coming to Colorado, we talked about the lack of success in recent
Mhm.
times. What was your approach in changing the mindset in Boulder?
You to change the outcome, you got to change the income. You got to change what goes in that. Then that changes what goes out. And you got to change the thought process and the mindset. Not only the football team, but other people in the building that had just a losing pedigree and a losing attitude that you don't like to see that. You don't like that around the kid. You don't like that thought process. So from the kitchen to the custodians to everyone, we had to not only just make change in attitudes, but sometimes you had to make change in personnel so that truly believe that you can win. You can do this. These can grow. They can garnish degrees. And I think our biggest thing we accomplished last season was in the spring with all the comings and goings of kids, the portal and out of the portal, we had the highest GPA ever accomplished by this institution from the football team, the highest GPA ever. So that GPA ever, that was the best thing that transpired with us because we had those kids focusing on what was important because 90% of these young men are not going pro. And I'm
Right.
being generous with the 90. So we got to develop them and prepare them for life. And that's something we take a lot of pride in.
Yeah, you're right, and I love to hear that because you watch this big show
Mhm.
on Fox, and man, it's a big game, and it's Division One,
Yeah.
but the general public, this doesn't go on forever for most of those kids, like you said, 90%, and that's being generous. Real
Yeah.
life's about to hit them. This can be an
Uh-huh.
unbelievable. If you go in it with a level head, this can be an unbelievable experience, and there's going to be some kids that do make a living, past this level,
Mhm.
but it's very few. But if you can prepare them the way you prepare them, and like you said, that you take pride in their grade point average and seeing that
Mhm.
improving. Those are the things I think at this level are so important. Just molding these kids into good young men that are going to be productive members of society once they leave Boulder, Colorado. I think that's awesome. I think that's a great
Yeah.
message for
And
anybody listening to this show.
it's vital for them to understand these people that they look at on social media as well as television or listen to their music are human and they've made mistakes. I remember when the rapper The Baby came in and he surprised them and he came into the meeting the night before the game and and they were able to have a Q&A with them. And he said, I made a ton of mistakes, and I own up to every last one of them. But if I hadn't made those mistakes, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm thankful for my past, but I'm more excited about my future. And I love that those young men got to see one of the hottest artists in the nation talk about his faults and how he overcame adversity. And I love that aspect.
And you got such a unique because you do in that program now, because of you have access to these ultra successful people, not just in the sports arena, in all aspect, in all of entertainment. And that's pretty, man, I couldn't imagine. These kids are getting invaluable advice from people that
Yeah.
not too many people have access. And I'd love
Oh,
to, I want them to
yeah.
just, if I was there, I'd be like, hey, appreciate what you got, because everybody doesn't get this. So suck up everything you can. Um, the thing I thought was awesome too, you're very transparent on what
Right.
goes on behind the scenes. Stuff that public usually doesn't get to see. You got a book, Coach Prime book, Elevate and Dominate. 20
Right.
Ways to Win on and off the field. It comes out March 12th. You also got the Coach Prime documentary. It's going to be season 2. It's on Prime Video. If you haven't, that's coming out. Season 1, I believe, is on Prime Video right now.
Yeah.
And it's going to follow you through the 2023 Colorado Buffaloes season. Talk about the transparency, why you took that tact, how important that is. Just really letting the public in behind the scenes as much. I'm sure you cut the cameras off at a certain point, but you're letting guys get in more than most organizations do.
We pretty much allow darn near everything, really, except for certain levels of profanity that some people may utter during the game and throughout the game. But I think it's important to be transparent. I think it's important to be genuine. We live in a country, a society that's so fake that real is not being accepted, because the fakeness is so much tolerated and oftentimes appreciated that real is ostracized. So we show how it's going to be. So when a kid comes up to us on a recruiting visit, he pretty much knows pretty much all the characters that play a vital role in this university. I mean, because he's seen it repeatedly, and the job that our social media team, as well as my son's team, Darius and Neil and a few others, that they do, that's putting our content out. And there's so many other social media persons that are putting our content out. We validate. It's unbelievable. They get to know us. So it's almost like using this as a recruiting tool, as well as using it as a developmental tool. We want to show them who we are. And if you don't like that, don't even come here on a visit. Don't even take the trip, because we're being as transparent as we can, and this is who we are. Because I don't sugarcoat, and I never have. So as a coach, I won't anyway. Now, I'm careful at times in press conferences, because I have to remember I'm a darn head coach. I can't say certain things that I really think.
Right.
So
Right.
sometimes I can't myself, and I stop and I say, "Oh Lord, thank you for stopping me from saying what I really felt at that
Well,
moment."
right. You got to have a little tact.
Yeah, I do. And I do, because sometimes I want to just let it rip. And Lord, thank you for stopping me.
Right. Because you're like, oh, I could have said it. The people out there would know, hey, that's what people won't say. That is real. But at the same time, now you got 3 weeks of having to answer this question, and it's like it's taken away from the big picture.
If I tell the truth, it's different. Like if we play a game, I'm gonna give you an example. If we play a game and Shador, our quarterback, I won't say my son, our quarterback, gets sacked 9 times. If I go into the press conference and say, our offensive line played like garbage.
Right.
You saw that.
Yeah.
Everybody saw that. But I can't say that because it's the truth. You say I'm throwing the line under the bus. No. I'm just telling the truth, because I told them that during the game. Right. They know that. Everybody knows that, but don't tell me I'm wrong for saying what you're saying. But
right. On the contrary, you could say, Shador, he threw some bad passes today. They'll accept that from you, because look, he's criticizing his son too. But if you go the other way and just say our offensive line had a horseshit day today, excuse my French, Oh, he's just protecting his son. No, I get exactly where you're coming from. So
Yeah,
you got to be
it's crazy.
careful. Yeah.
It's crazy, but 99% of the time, I just let it rip.
This is what's really interesting to me about your situation, and I touched on it briefly when I talk to young players. As I get a little bit older, I get a little bit wiser. I like to think, because, for example, I get a young player, a minor league player, and we want to talk about footwork around second base, turning a double play. Well, when I first retired, you just do it like this. Well, I forget that everybody doesn't do it the way I did it. So maybe I've
True.
got to teach a more something for the masses that everybody can do. When when I'm hitting it, I'll talk to my son. You just do this, and he'll look at me and go, "Dad, I can't just do that." It takes me back. Go, wait a minute. Okay, how do I explain this in more of a
Right.
mass audience thing? Being being prime time, being a Hall of Famer. Do you find yourself sometimes? Is it easy or is it tough to get your message and teach to the masses because they can't do what Deion Sanders did? There's not too many people that can do that. So do you have a tough time or do you have enough experience now where no, I know how to go about this?
Experience, you got to understand. Most people they're just learning me as Coach Prime, but I've been Coach Prime for probably 20 years now. Because when I retired, I started coaching youth. I started coaching my oldest son. Then I started coaching. I had a whole darn youth program: football, baseball, basketball, track, cheer. We had every sport covered, locked, girls and boys, and it was phenomenal. So I learned way back then over a decade of consistently teaching. Then I went into high school. I coached junior high. Then I went to Jackson State. Did here. So I've been coaching for a long time. They thought I just started because they just saw me nationally. When I was in Hall of Fame, I think 2011, we took 7 busloads of kids there because we had played football games in Memphis, Louisville, and then we went to Canton, Ohio. So I was coaching for a long time, but I learned way back then, these kids are not you. You can't expect them to do what you're capable of doing. You got to make them the best them. You got to make them the best Bret that they could be. Make them the best Shiloh, the best Travis, the best Dylan. You got to make those guys the best that they can be and not try to put you into it. And you're living vicariously through them still. That won't work. So I can't expect my young men that play for me to be me. Not whatsoever. You set yourself up for disaster and hurt, pain, a lot of pain.
Big time pain. Hey, just do it like Deion did it. Well, everybody can't just do it the way Deion did it. From a baseball perspective, let's take this. I watch Aaron manage now. I talk to Aaron. He calls me, kicks ideas off me. Sometimes he listens to me. Sometimes he doesn't. But all my experience in the game at every level, from college through my big league career, I was touched by a lot of different managers and a lot of great ones. Some things you agree with, some things you don't. But I felt just strictly from Major League Baseball, there's very few times where after the game we sat around and said, Coach really screwed us today. That's why we lost.
Right.
It doesn't happen too much on the baseball diamond. Usually the players win and lose games. I think that's probably the case in every sport. But in football, once that national anthem's over, how important are you when it comes to the wins and the losses?
I won't even give you percentages. I'll just say different than baseball. Baseball is a self sport. Like you have your own numbers, your own everything. You go up to the bat with you versus that guy. Football is so much more of a team sport. Everybody could strike out every time they get up and one guy hit a home run and he's won the game. You won the game. Football, that's not going to happen. And it's like, it would be like the coach telling you when to swing. Like, okay, I need you to swing at this next pitch. You don't listen to that because you're your own guy. You're seeing it. Football, you're calling plays. You're actually an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and you're seeing the game from another perspective. Because I don't call plays offensively, defensively, but in the preparation, the game plan, I know what I want to see going into the game plan. So you're meeting with coordinators, you're making sure you see this, you see that, you're making sure, okay, we have this set just in case it is, okay, if they start running down our throats, what are we going to do? So those questions go out on Thursday or Friday. This is what I want to see if they start running. Okay, if they start doing this, this is what I want to see. This is how we got to stop this guy. And it's so much more inclusiveness in coaching football. That's why you have so many darn coaches. You got a coach for every position. You got GAs, graduate assistant, NFL. You got analysts for each side of the ball. It's so much going on. So you have a tremendous influence on how the game goes, but it's still up to the players. I've never been the type of guy to blame a coach for anything in life. I've never said that was his fault. No, because we were ultimately on the field. We had an opportunity to make a play. And that's one thing that I really, really harp on with these young men. You're going to have an opportunity within the confines of this game to play. What you do with it is on you. How you prepare to make that play is on you. Are you ready to make that play? That's on you. So football coaches, I think, have a greater impact than baseball managers or anything that translates on the baseball field.
Yeah, and that's, without ever being on the sidelines coaching a football team, that's kind of what I thought all the time. It's just there's more to it. Even in the NBA, there's more to it. At the end of the game, it's pretty important what play you draw up to determine the outcome of that game. I don't know if it's most important or biggest challenge for you. Calling the game, teaching the players, or managing the players' personalities?
The first one was calling the game. The second one was teaching them.
Calling the game, teaching the players, that during the week, or managing each, the individuals. And because as well as I do, when you get to a high level, we don't just treat everybody the same. It's I've got to come at this player this way and this player this way to get the same result.
Mm-hmm. I think teaching the players. Teaching is everything, because a lot of players sometimes don't want to receive, and they think they know it until they go out there and get beat. Then they're open for lessons. But when you build a relationship, there's a respect level there, and that young man knows that you only want the best for him. So you're only going to tell him right. And one thing that we're compiling around here, darn near every position, probably 65% of our positional coaches have been to the NFL, coached or played in the NFL for a length of time. So you're getting a heck of a level of expertise from these guys that have already been to where you want to go. So you should listen, because they're there. They're like navigational systems that have been to that destination. But really teaching these young men, because it's tough, because, they got life and they got school and they got dreams and aspirations, a lot going on in their heads. So that's why we go out there first thing in the morning. I want the best of them. We call it the first fruit biblically. I want the thing from them. I don't want to give them a chance to give the girlfriend, the school to tire them out, or smoking to them to smoke themselves. I want the first thing. Give me mine first. Let's eat breakfast, go into the meetings, let's prepare, and we're on the field about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. So we're off the field probably about 10:30, 10:45 at the latest. Then they have another meeting, then they go to classes.
Yeah. Balancing that. It's not an easy thing to do at that age. The elite kids can do it.
It's so different now, man, because most of the school is online. Like, they go to classes, and I'm like, you guys are missing the best part of college, is to be on campus, is to walk around and feel the atmosphere and build relationships on campus with other students outside of football. That's the best part of it. But now you have so many kids, they're just online. I don't even know if Shador has ever taken a class on campus in his college career.
It's unbelievable how they're online. I mean, I'm sitting here right now. I'm getting a text from my son. He's in the other room asking me if I can get him some Dayquil a little bit later because he's not feeling good. I'm like, first of all, I'm doing a show. Secondly, you're like 10 feet away, but you got to text me. You can't ask.
Right.
You know,
Oh, yeah,
you
they
don't
don't
know
text
what I'm doing.
you. Yeah.
It's
They
unbelievable.
text you in the same room. Yeah, they text you in
Yeah,
the same room now.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
NIL transfer portal,
Wow.
good for the game. Pros and cons.
Good, good for the game. I love that the kids are getting compensated for their name, image, and likeness. But then you got to ask the question, are they really getting compensated for their name, image, and likeness? We always hear about NIL, but we don't ever see NIL. We happen to have a couple young men, really three young men on this team that you could see on commercials, that you could see doing certain things, and you could see NIL. But it's the difference between NIL and collectives. Collectives is when donors put together a bag of money and they figure out who to distribute it to. And they associate a task of showing up to this car dealership or doing that or doing this with that collective. That's where it went wrong. NIL, I don't mind. But assembling the bag, I got a problem with that. I want these kids to get a cut of whatever the NCAA is doing. I want that to happen. But I want to do it right where we have parameters and we have guidelines and we have rules that you must abide by. And it's open season right now. I understand, and some of our young men are benefiting, and I'm happy and thankful. But just give us some better guidelines because right now it ain't no stopping what's going on out there.
If they had NIL when you were in college, how would that have gone?
It would have been something special.
Yeah.
It'd have been something special. But see, like it's everybody keep talking about NIL. It would have been great for me because I had a product in Prime. But you talk about some of these other kids that are getting this and getting that. I want them to get it, but that's not NIL. Don't call it that. Call it what it is.
I've had some health challenges. I've watched you go through it.
Yeah,
I think I saw a clip the other day. You were running for the first time,
yeah,
and
yeah.
in a long time.
It was hard.
How is that? I know you're a pretty grounded person, but has that to a different level put life into perspective a little bit more for me? The
Oh,
challenges that you've
oh,
gone through.
yeah, when you sit on the edge of the bed and your life could be gone at the conclusion of the surgery, that's challenging. That's the wake up call that everyone needs in life sometimes. Not that I needed it, but it was good. And you start taking things more serious. You start really appreciating others and appreciating the simplistic things of life a lot more. To sit there and you having 9 surgeries within a month and you're so medicated you don't even know who's who in the room and you're just sitting around and you're thinking, darn it, I could never run the same. I could never train the same. I could never prepare my body like I once did. Man, how am I going to deal with that? So that was probably the toughest thing I've ever gone through. Amputation of a couple of my toes and the sides of my legs been cut out. I mean that was the toughest time, and I've had up to date 11 surgery now because I had clots in my thighs last summer that they had to cut in my groins both sides and take clots out. So that's the toughest thing that has ever happened to me in my life.
A few more things before I let you go. Recently, I think I read something where you called Nick Saban, uh, Coach Saban, when he retired. He said, "The GOAT's retiring from college football. What's going on?" I think I
Oh
read that.
yeah,
And then I've been watching recently because I know you're still probably in tune with watching the Dallas Cowboys. And I saw
yeah,
Emmett Smith come on today. He's commenting. I saw Michael Irvin going crazy.
yeah.
So tackle those two, the Nick Saban and
Best,
what happened to your Cowboys?
the greatest ever coach, I believe. I gotta say, arguably, because I'm also associated with Bobby Bowden. Coach Bowden was unbelievable.
Your college
Coach
coach.
Saban,
Yeah.
yes, what Coach Saban accomplished in college football, I don't think will ever be topped. It went because the game is so much. You won't be able to assemble a team like that that could stand that test of time, unless you're back by some of the oil well people overseas. If you have that backing, then you could buy all the best players in the country. It's the only way you can do that. Coach Saban is just having a relationship with him, working with the company Aflac and shooting commercials over the last couple of seasons has been phenomenal. His wisdom, his truth, his heart, his passion for football, and what he meant to that university. We lost a giant. And when you know you lose a giant, this is what happens when he walks away. Programs change. What do you mean by that, Coach Brian? Alabama program has changed. The gentleman from Washington that's replacing Coach Saban, that program has changed at Washington. Now the gentleman that's replacing the coach from Washington, that's replacing Coach Saban, now the program has changed from Arizona. So he is so powerful. He is so dynamic that he had the propensity to change 3 programs with just walking away. That may never be the same. Alabama may never be the same. Washington may never be the same. And Arizona was just on the come up. They may never be the same. All because of one man.
By him saying, I'm done.
I'm done. It's unbelievable. That's power, man. That's a coach. And then going to the Dallas Cowboys, I feel bad because I feel like Jerry Jones is the best owner to ever own a franchise. What he does for the players, what he puts into the fan base, and how he injects life into every situation and gives that team and that city hope. Don't every year you feel like the Cowboys are supposed to win it because that's
every year.
That's how good Jerry is. So just having them falter once again, that's tough. But I like to sit back with my popcorn and see how it plays out. Like, okay, now who's going to get fired? Who's going to move? What personnel on the field? Because I can't blame that on the coaches. The players did that. They always want to blame coaches, man. And see, I'm thinking from a player's perspective.
Right.
That's players. See, now when you're a coach, you start thinking, shoot, no, I'll take that responsibility. As a coach, we take that responsibility, but as a player, no, man, you can't blame your coach.
You mentioned you had your kids when you were young, high school, Jackson, now Boulder, NFL one day. Is that in your future?
No, that's not my cards. No. That would be tough for me to fathom. Grown men making millions of dollars that don't want to play. You know how we felt about some guys didn't want to play baseball. You want to take the day off. Why? You get compensated to play baseball. Why you need a day off?
I can never get over that with teammates. Like, you got to be in there every day.
All the time. And you was known as that gritty dude that just loved to play the game, man. And I appreciated that about you. And we had, you know what, man, we had some personalities then that were unbelievable. You know, one of my dearest is Lenny Harris. You know, Lenny's.
I just saw Lenny. Lenny is.
He comes to the games. Like, Lenny is my guy. Lenny is the ultimate baseball team. Like, if you had to define a teammate and a baseball player, Lenny Harris.
Coop.
Hey,
you know, what was great about Lenny is he was a utility player. He wasn't a star player. You know, I've never seen a non-star player in a clubhouse have the clout that Lenny Harris had. He was a leader, and it's tough to do when you're not one of the main dudes in the middle of that lineup. It's tough to be a leader in that clubhouse. Lenny broke the mold, and he was.
Lenny was brutally honest with everybody.
And he didn't care how big your star was.
He don't care how big your star was. He was going to tell you. He was going to say this and say that. It was so funny, man, that I remember I rolled my ankle in Pittsburgh one day. Had to, all because of Lenny. I was on second. Lenny was on first. Lenny wanted to backdoor me and get a free stolen base.
That's
he's like,
yeah, that's my world.
yeah, he's like, come on, man, come on. And he's looking down at me like, come on. I'm like, I didn't really want to take the base because I wanted the hitter to just focus. I didn't want to mess him up, with the count. I forgot who was hitting, but the pitch count. It was whoever was our third hitter at that time because I was leading off. Lenny, I think, was in the 2-hole. And I ran, and I thought I had it because I thought, there's no way they're going to go at me because I had a great jump. They're going to throw the ball at Lenny second. I just saw the catcher rise up and throw at me, and I tried to get down to the last minute and roll my ankle too, man. I was out for weeks. I say, Lenny, all because of you. All because of you.
Try to get that backdoor bag.
Trying to let you get that backdoor bag.
All right. Toughest thing for prime time. Facing Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavin, covering Jerry Rice, or
Maddox,
coaching your boys.
Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavin any day. Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavin any day because even if you get them that day, you're going to have to get them again the next day.
Yep.
And that's tough. Baseball is 162 games, man. That's tough.
Hitting's hard, man. Hitting's hard.
Football, I can do once a week, and I can enjoy it for 6 days.
Yeah. Deion the Man, prime time. Same, or is there a difference?
There's a tremendous difference. There's two different entities. Like, I'm a laid-back dude, man. I don't know when the last time I've been out. I'm probably in bed by 7. Never smoked, never drank in my life. Stopped using profanity when I was, I think, 19. That's this guy. Now, this guy, he's the entertainer. He's the guy that draws people. He's the guy that's boisterous, is going to say what he feel and feel he said. And he's the guy that's going to jump to the challenge. He's not going to walk away from it. He's not going to walk away from any smoke. He's going to take it on. The other, he's going to walk away, live another day. Two different entities, but the same person.
Deion, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. This has been awesome. It's been great catching up. Let's, to the audience out there, to the people listening, watching the Boone podcast, elevate and dominate, 21 ways to win on and off the field. That comes out March 12th, Primetime's book, and catch season 2 on Prime Video, and it'll walk you through the 2023 Colorado Buffalo season. Once again, I appreciate you coming on. I wish you all the best. We're going to catch up one day. I'm going to call you. I'm going to say, Prime, I need to come on the sidelines. You say, Booney, come on the sidelines. I'll make the path for you.
I'm going to say, where do you live now? Where you live?
I'm in San Diego. I'm in San Diego.
Oh, shoot. We don't play. We moved to the Big 12. We don't play anybody on this side of the country now.
Well, I might fly to you.
Yeah, that'd be kind.
Well, I really appreciate it, Prime, taking the time out. Best of luck this upcoming season. And for all you out there now watching on YouTube or listening to the Boone podcast, I appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Let me give you a drop. Hey, this is Deion Sanders. I need you all, everybody and anybody that is somebody, to listen to the Boone podcast right now.
I love it.
Right now. He ain't fine.
And I appreciate that. All right, Prime, man. Thank you.
Take care. God bless.